Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles in der Welt.
During the late 1930s, the Nazis invaded Poland, murdering thousands and sparking the beginning of World War II. The Nazis quickly grew to be even more evil, with their mass murders and cruel treatment of groups that the Nazis believed to be lesser than themselves. During Hitler's first 6 years in power, Jews were subjected to over 400 orders and laws that would take over many areas of their lives. The first wave of these rules came in from 1933 to 1934, and according to the Holocaust Memorial Museum, these laws mainly focused on limiting the participation of Jews in German public life. A major law that was passed during this time was the Law for the Restoration of the Professional Civil Service. This law stated that the Jewish civil servants who were considered politically unreasonable were to be excluded from the state. Later on in 1935, at the party rally held in Nuremberg, a new set of laws was announced, named the Nuremberg Laws. And according to the Holocaust Memorial Museum, these laws would include a multitude of racist Nazi beliefs, including rules such as keeping German Jews from having Reich citizenship and marrying or having relations with anyone who was German or had German-related blood. The Nazis would use their camps for a range of reasons, such as forced labor, arrest of groups considered enemies of the state, and mass murder. Since 1933, Nazis had used their camps to imprison real enemies of the state, along with those perceived as such. Most of these early prisoners were Roma, German communists, socialists, social democrats, Jehovah's Witnesses, and gay men accused of homosexuality. After Germany annexed Austria in 1938, many Austrian political prisoners were issued into the camps. Later that same year, mass arrests took place for adult male Jews. They were arrested simply because they were Jewish. During this time, over 30,000 Jews were arrested and placed into the Dachau, Buchenwald, and Sachsenhausen camps across Germany. Killing centers were another type of camp primarily used for the murdering of a massive amount of people as soon as they would arrive upon the site. 5 of these said camps were used almost exclusively for the murder of Jews. These camps were originally constructed to help with the mass genocide of Jews across Europe, commonly known as the Final Solution. The Nazis targeted many groups other than Jews during World War II, including blacks, citizens accused of disobedience or partisan activities, Jehovah's Witnesses, the disabled, Poles, political rivals and dissenters, Roma and/or people derogatorily labeled as gypsies, social outsiders derogatorily labeled as asocials and/or professional criminals, Soviet prisoners of war, and lastly, gay and/or bisexual men or any other men accused of homosexuality. The Nazis would decide these groups' values based on their own backwards ideology, coming from themes of racism, nationalism, anti-Semitism, anti-communism, anti-gypsyism, and eugenics. When grouping these ideas together, you will get the Nazi ideology and the murderous destruction that comes along with it. The Nazis would classify all of these groups by biological, racial, political, and social criteria. Examples of racial threats to them were Jews and Roma, while others, for example those who were disabled, were thought as biological threats. The Nazis thought that eliminating these groups from society would cause Germans' health to be much better overall. Many of these groups would receive punishment just as bad, if not worse, than Jews. According to the Holocaust Memorial Museum, some of these punishments were extra-legal imprisonment in concentration camps, discrimination on the basis of supported racial ideology, torture, including inhumane medical experiments, forced sterilization, and/or mass murder. Not all of these groups will receive the same treatment, and some will be let off much easier than others. The entirety of the Nazi ideology truly showcased how one evil person can do so much damage to so many groups. It showcased one of the most extreme examples of cruelty, violence, dehumanization, and mass murder in modern history. The events that took place in the Nazi camps and all across the world show the true colors of history. All of the incidents that happened reveal what can come about if a problem is able to be escalated to the point that it was in this time in history.